Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Monday, July 5th, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And we're finally here, Coach. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July, and now we can return our focus to the finals. Are you ready?
I am absolutely ready. I'm excited for this finals. I think it could be a really good series. And the question burning for everybody is Giannis, is he going to play or is he not going to play? So that will have a big determination on the series. But it's going to be exciting for sure. It's two teams that haven't been there in a long, long time. And that always makes for a fun situation.
Yeah, there's one city and fan base that's going to go wild here with a title
Yes.
that they've been looking for a long, long time. And as you
Yeah.
pointed out, as we were chatting here before the podcast, the numbers are moving in Phoenix's direction. The series price on BetUS.com.pa, our presenting sponsor, is now Phoenix minus 195, Milwaukee plus
Yes.
165. And
Correct.
game 1 has now moved up to Phoenix minus 6 with an over-under of 217. So does that solidify in your mind that it's about 99% that Giannis sits game 1?
Yeah, and again, I voiced my opinion on the series preview podcast I did over the weekend. I don't think Giannis is going to play. I just feel like, that
In the whole
injury
series?
was pretty bad. It looked bad. Yeah, I really do. I think he sits. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I can't say that that's based on anything I've read. I just saw the injury, saw the ramifications from it. He didn't tear anything, but, the way how athletic he is and how much he depends on that, I just don't know if they want to risk his career to come up with something like that happened to Kevin Durant in the finals. And, the microscope is on the league, for pushing guys out there when they're not ready. They've taken some heat for that. And I just don't know if they want to risk that. He's a young man. And, if he rehabs and rests correctly, he could be 100% perfectly fine. But if he pushes it and something does go, you're looking at a year and a half off, like it happened, with the Golden State guys. It happened to a couple of their guys. So, what I thought was for sure he'd be out for game 1 is definitely there. The line has moved from an opening of 4.5 all the way up to 6. And that 217 number is also a little low, which again, without Giannis's input into the offensive side of things from the Bucks, that makes sense. But the thing that alarmed me the most, Andrew, was seeing that drift up on the series price. So I think people are assuming that the Suns jump out to a quick lead in these games if Giannis does come back later in the series, or if Giannis is out altogether. When you're talking, you're having to lay 2-1 on the Suns here with a Bucks team. If they had Giannis, I think this series would be a pick'em. So it's that's what I'm thinking. So anything we discussed today in game 1 certainly will not include any Giannis whatsoever. If we get shocked by some news, we'll certainly give some updates, but I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, if Giannis were fully healthy, I'm with you. I think the series price would be close to a pick'em. We look at what these teams did in the regular season. They played 2 games, and they were both 1-point games. Phoenix won both of those,
Right.
one of them in overtime. So these teams were evenly matched with Giannis out there. So
Yeah.
let's get into the Milwaukee side as the visiting team, as we always do. You can break down Milwaukee for us. We'll go back and forth there a little bit. Then we'll hit Phoenix and try to get folks ready here for some big slates on DraftKings and FanDuel.
Yeah, there's going to be some big contests. I'd recommend people, get those contest reservations in ahead of time. Get that, don't wait until the end or you're going to get shut out of some of the good stuff. All right, as far as the Bucks go, again, we'd anticipate the starting 5 to be what it was here when they closed out Atlanta, which is Holiday, Middleton, Tucker, Portis, and Lopez. I would assume that's the same direction that they're going to go. And then off the bench, we saw a big run for Pat Connaughton. He played 30 minutes in that last game. I do anticipate he'll be their top minutes guy off the bench again, but I'm thinking mid-20s possibly. And then we got a little bit of Bryn Forbes. And surprisingly, which was really caught me off guard, is Jeff Teague played 12 and a half minutes. Now, I don't really trust the Jeff Teague play there. I think it was situational a little bit, and he was comfortable there. He played 7 seasons with the Hawks. I just think that was more of a, timing situation thing that Coach Bud pushed that button. But I think you're going to see Forbes and Connaughton specifically be the top 2 guys off the bench. But I do think also Milwaukee's going to go very, very heavy with their starters. I think that you'll see minutes close to 40 for most of these guys. So, if we look at it from this game 1 standpoint, we know that it's in Phoenix. And, one thing I pointed out, Andrew, on the overall series look through was the only thing that's statistically very different with these two teams, because everything else is just so even across the board, it's not even funny. Great coaching, solid veterans, some good young players, on and on. You can really compare these teams closely. But the difference is Phoenix wants to play slow. They're 27th pace in the league for the season, and Milwaukee wants to play fast. They're second. Now, maybe not quite as fast without Giannis, but still faster. So when we're talking about this, I think we have to keep that in mind in this first game is Phoenix going to be able to make it a half-court game, or is Milwaukee going to get out and be able to run and fill the lanes? And I don't think that it's, obviously nobody runs the floor like Giannis. He takes like 4 strides and he's down the whole floor. But Portis is no slow guy, and he busts out of there and he can, finish at the rim. So they're still going to push. Now, the 217 Vegas total, that makes me feel also that Vegas is favoring Phoenix here, because Milwaukee does not want to play the below 220 game. Milwaukee prefers to be in the mid 220s minimally, and that's that's how they play it. And so that's an interesting piece. So let's look at it from the perspective that Milwaukee gets slowed down a little bit by Phoenix, and that can play in or out of some of these guys' hands. And I'll be interested to get your feedback here on this as we go, Andrew. So PJ Tucker, we know he's going to get big minutes. We know he's going to be an important defensive piece. He did get 10 shots up in this last game, which was a high, and 8 rebounds. So his price is decent. He was 1 for 7 for 3. So again, Tucker is in that situation that's a little scary. You could put him in as your last guy with a decent value price. Know you're going to get the minutes, but be very concerned that you're going to get enough output to make a difference. What do you feel on Tucker?
No, I think that's well said. Perfect. I mean, if he hits 3 corner threes, he's going to get 6 to 8 rebounds, and he might get a couple stocks, so he can hit value. If he goes 1 for 7 again, then you probably don't want him.
So is he more GPP than cash for you?
Yeah, it depends on which site you're on, and if he's, what the other 4 guys look like. If you're on FanDuel, you can slide him in on DraftKings as one of 6 a little more easily.
Yes.
So that it is a tough call, but I do think he's playable because of those minutes.
And that's exactly what I expect you to say, because I'm with you. The benches aren't going to play monster roles. Now, Phoenix has a little bit more of a punch coming off their bench, in my opinion. But from Milwaukee, he's going to play a lot. And, it's tempting, even in my cash, to get him in there in that last spot. So I wanted really to state that, because I've been down on Tucker because he can easily go 0 points. We've seen it a bunch of times. But you may need to take that risk here. Going on to Bobby Portis, he's just really stepped into the role. playing with a lot of emotion. I do think, though, he's a better play when they play in Milwaukee because he feeds off of that adrenaline and that emotion more. And, it's a little bit tougher go, I think, in Phoenix. And Phoenix has some good defenders. So I like Bobby Portis. His price has shifted now, so you got to sort of absorb that. But he's certainly a guy that's going to be high on my list for those really important spots for the second level guys. Do you have a similar take? I know we're let's go guy by guy here, man. We got to break this down because, again, we're only talking probably 11 guys that are 12 maybe that are even possible to roster.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
are you on the Portis train?
He's in play for me. Again, last guy in. He's a little pricier on FanDuel at 9,500. And I like the matchup. I mean, I expect he and Crowder to be matched up against each other. And Crowder is a very tough defender, but Portis does have a size advantage on him. And in the regular season when these teams met, they were both coming off the bench in both games, and Portis was 12-9 in the first game in only 19 minutes, and then not as much in the second game, 6-2 in 14 minutes. But he can post up Crowder. He's got the size. Like you said, he'll get out and run, and then it doesn't matter who his primary defender is. So he's in play for me. How will he react because this game is in Phoenix? That's a wild card, but definitely playable for me. And if he can handle the nerves and being on the road, I think he can get it done.
I'm with you. Now, here's a guy that I'm looking to fade, and here's my reason. Brook Lopez, he really stepped up towards the end of that Atlanta series, but, he was a bigger body. He didn't have anybody to lean on him. Capella's an undersized center, so is Collins, and Brook was just dominant. And I was so impressed. I think it was what really clinched the entire series for them is Brook said, okay, let's go back to old school. I'm going to get my big 7-foot body in the paint, bang around, hit the little jump hook, and play the role of a center, not one of those European stretch 5 guys. And he did. But here's the problem. Now it's DeAndre Ayton. He's got a guy that's actually a little taller than him and certainly just as thick. And I think it causes a little bit of difficulty for Brook. I think you're going to see regression on his usage and rebounding. Now, he may get a couple 2-3 threes because, it's a little bit tougher for Ayton to get out there and guard him. But, there may be a few runs when they rotate that Portis even guards him. So I think you're going to see a regression from Lopez, and he's not on my initial list. What do you think?
Yeah, Lopez, in those last 2 games, obviously he was the man in Game 5, and then he didn't do quite as much in Game 6. They did a better job of not leaving him open for lobs. That's Atlanta. And I would say my outlook right now is that he's a little bit more like the Game 6 Lopez, where he's not so dominant. Like you said, Ayton is an absolute force. And in the regular season, he didn't do too much against Ayton. 10, 6, and 2, and then 7 and 5. He was sort of an afterthought. The problem is, again, Giannis played both of those games. And we saw in Game 5 with Milwaukee and Atlanta, all that usage opened up, and the way that Atlanta defended or didn't defend Lopez allowed him to have that monster game because there weren't more shots to go around. So I think it's possible for him to play well here. We saw that Zubats had a couple good games against Phoenix with some lobs there in the paint. And so I think he could get it done, but he's 11-5 on FanDuel now. So a lot tougher to go there. He's not really that value play. I mean, he's just below those studs. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of tempered on him. I'm not looking for a ceiling game. And so he's probably not in my initial build either.
Yeah, I mean they priced him out of even consideration for me. But all right, let me bulk these 2 guys together because I think the series begins and ends with Middleton and Holiday. They combined for 47 shots, 21 for 47. They were 8 for 22 from 3, and they're both fantastic foul shooters. So I think that they're going to dominate. That all that usage that Giannis gives up definitely goes to these two guys, I think, because Tucker's going to get a little, Portis get a little, maybe Lopez a little, but the general counting on to score and get it done, I think falls on both of them. And they're really, with Phoenix, and again, we've talked about it since the first game of the season, they do share the ball better. They use more guys. They get more from their bench. But without Giannis, I personally am going to start every lineup with both Middleton and Holiday in it and make the rest of it work.
I use that mentality mostly at the end of that Milwaukee and Atlanta series, and I think it's a wise approach. I'm not 100% committed to it here in Game 1.
Okay.
Just the pricing, the way everything works out, I think it's a little tricky for Game 1 here on FanDuel. I was hoping to be able to get more in at the top, but I want to play Chris Paul, and he's the most expensive guy on the slate. So I think there is some value to considering playing one or the other. Middleton, I think we're both expecting him to get the Bridges defense, which is very solid. It's not necessarily a lockdown situation. We saw Paul George have some big games against him, and Middleton, held his own in the regular season against Bridges. So I think Middleton, makes a lot of sense. But the problem is, if you go with both of those guys, then what do you have from Phoenix? And is that what you want? So I think it's a tricky evaluation here, especially on FanDuel. I'd like to be able to play both of them because I think they'll continue to dominate the usage. But, I'm also interested in Chris Paul, so that makes it more challenging.
Yeah, I think Bridges is a fine defender, but he's young. He's learning. This is his first playoff run. So I think Middleton is going to own him here. I mean, as good as Bridges can be, George did scorch him pretty bad, and you make a good point there. And I think Middleton has even been hotter than Paul George, and I think he's strong. He'll back down Bridges as best he can. So I really think he's going to be phenomenal. Holiday, on the other hand, it is Chris Paul, and Paul is a fine defender. He can strip the ball, but you know how Chris Paul usually dominates the other guard? He outthinks him because he's such a veteran. He gets the angle. He gets the cheap fouls. He does all those things that like a coach on the floor would do, But he's not going to get away with all of that, I don't think, against Holiday, because Holiday has a ton of experience. He's been through the rigors, and he knows all Chris Paul's tricks. So I think Holiday's going to be, he's playing with a ton of confidence. He's really relishing the role of having to step up. This is really the most key point of his career, and he has been around a while. And I think he does just fine against Chris Paul. I mean, yes, Paul's a good defender. He always has been. But in that sense, the dude is 36 years old. And, you have to lose just a little quickness there. And I think, as phenomenal shape as he's in, I still think Holiday can be fairly dominant against him. So I'm really excited for this backcourt. I really think 100% own for me.
Yeah, Holiday, he only played once in the regular season against Phoenix. In that second matchup, he went
COVID the second game. Yeah,
he went 25, 4, and 8, 10 of 19 from the field. So he did just fine. Middleton and Giannis played that one, so I could see him getting even a couple more shots into the 20s. So I'd like Jrue to be solid here and be a solid investment. Again, it's just putting it all together in the end. Does he make the cut? But he'll definitely be in a lot of my lineups.
I'm with you. And then, being a cash and single entry player, I'll mention these four guys, but I'm not going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. And I know a lot of people are going to go to Connaughton. They're going to see the 8 shots, the 3 threes, the 8 rebounds, the 30 minutes. And I get it. I mean, I do, but I'm just not sure that that's a sustainable number for him against a much better defensive team, in my opinion. So Forbes, Thanasis, Connaughton, and Teague are not going to be in the mix for me at all. I just don't think their bench is rosterable in this showdown world that we're in.
Well, they're in consideration for me. Thanasis probably not, because I'm not sure how many minutes he'll get. Forbes is probably on the outside looking in because he's just not involved enough other than shooting. I mean, he can grab a couple rebounds, but it would be Connaughton or Teague in consideration for me. Connaughton, I mean, the reason he's not your favorite as a cash player is because he's inconsistent. And does he hit his threes? I mean, if you look at the regular season matchup, it's a perfect example. In game 1 against Phoenix, he was 0-1-1 because he didn't hit his shots. He only had a few. But then in the second game against Phoenix, he was 9 points and 9 rebounds. And, we saw that sort of inconsistency against Atlanta. That's sort of his game. If he hits his threes, he's very important. If he doesn't, then you're really frustrated because he gave you a dud. So he's playable for me, but with the caveat that he is a little bit boom or bust. And Teague, he's really interesting here because he's minimum price on FanDuel, very cheap on DraftKings, and kind of came back out of nowhere with these last couple games and played well while he was out there. So, 10 to 12 minutes, I think you could see that again. And, certainly risky to invest in somebody playing likely that few minutes. But, he makes some things work. So he's a GPP consideration for me. Not my favorite play, definitely risky. So, really it is Connaughton as the main focus for me as a consideration. I don't think you have to play him across the board, but, I like Connaughton and I think everybody knows he's their first guy off the bench, most minutes, most opportunity. And he plays with that confidence as well.
I'm with you. All right, before we jump over to the Suns real quickly here, let me mention we'd love to have you join us. I mean, this is our heyday here, NBA Finals. It doesn't get any more exciting than that. Come and check us out here for the beginning of it. We have a 3-day pass that's only $10. You can sign up right at dfscoachtalk.com. And you see on the scroll below us here, we also have a couple of other offers out there. Our betus.com.pa offer still is valid. If you sign up with them for a first deposit of $149, you get 2 free full months, all access of Coach Talk. So look at that as a possibility. And, we'd love to have you for whatever period of time that you want to join us. So check us out on at DFS Coach Talk on Twitter as well. And if you're watching us on YouTube, this is our big ask every show. We did reach our big goal this weekend, and we got over that first big hurdle of 1,000 subs. So we appreciate all of you for tuning in and doing that. And now we're chasing after the next 1,000. So just hit that thumbs up real quick, hit the subscribe button, and click the little alert in the top corner. If you're listening to us audio-wise, wherever podcasts can be heard, same thing, quick 5-star rating and a comment. And we have a drawing each month for a free week membership. In fact, our man Joe Stanton did that yesterday, and he's going to be announcing that on Twitter and in our Discord today. So we'll have a nice free week member coming in there. So jump in. If you do that, you'll be entered in that drawing for that membership as well. So we'd love to have you. We're on fire lately. We had an incredible day with baseball yesterday, and we've got that going full tilt. We're covering 3 slates of baseball today. And then, Andrew, the thing I love, me, I absolutely love the Olympics as far as basketball goes. And I've been studying all the teams. This is when, if you remember way back here, I guess 2 years ago now, we were covering the FIBA games at that time. And we had so many international people. And I got in trouble for not knowing the name of the coach that was who was it again? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Oh gosh, it was one of the Russian coaches, I believe. Now I'm going to get hit again with the same stuff. 2 years later, same folks can holler at me. But yeah, we have a incredible Olympics coming up too. You saw Luca took his
Yeah,
team
they're on
first
their
time
way.
ever.
Yep.
Yep, they're in it, and it's going to be great. And then the NBA Summer League, they already announced today all the teams that aren't in the finals. They were talking about all these first and second year players that are going to play. So I think it's going to be a better summer league than anybody thought because it's going to be pretty loaded. So we're going to cover all of that, every single slate. And so if you love basketball, you love DFS, dfscoachtalk.com is a place to come.
Absolutely. Well said. All right, Coach, I'll get us started on the Phoenix side here. And we got to start the analysis with Chris Paul after that tremendous performance to close out the Clippers. 41 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 16 of 24 from the field. Just kept draining those threes late to put it away.
Guess how many turnovers?
Probably like 1.
0.
Was it 0? Yeah, I kind of remembered maybe 1.
How is that possible, dude?
He was locked
How
in.
do you,
I mean,
how do you play at that level for that long in a game of that intensity and go 8 assists, 0 turnovers? We've been talking about it, but nobody realizes how incredible that is.
he's a maestro.
It's incredible.
He's tremendous, and he's really picked up his game at the right time. I mean, he's on a mission here, try to get that title while he's at the top of his game, and he's in a good spot right now. And like I said, he is the most expensive on FanDuel, but I'd like to have him in my lineups. I think he's going to continue to run the offense. In that one matchup against Jrue Holiday this year in the regular season, he went 22, 7, and 13, 10 of 20 from the field. So, again, as tough as Jrue is, you set that high pick and roll with Ayton, and, Jrue Holiday's not defending him anymore. And that's why I think Chris Paul can pay off value here. And I would like to pair him up with Ayton. Ayton, very solid against Milwaukee in the regular season. He shot 7 of 10 in Game 1, 8 for 11 in Game 2. And that's what we've been seeing from him here in the playoffs, against Zubats, just time and time again with that ultra-high shooting percentage, whether it's the dunk, the layup, or the baby hook. So Ayton is squarely in the mix for me as well. What do you think about that pairing, Coach?
As far as Chris Paul, yeah, that was one of the best playoff games. That's a top 10 performance in my opinion. I mean, he was absolutely incredible in that game. It was such a pleasure to watch. And, I think that'll be his showcase game of his career. I really do. I mean, you can't play better than that. Shoot 67%, score 41 points, and an 8-0 a turnover assist ratio, 4 rebounds. I mean, in a game to close out, to get to a finals, again, I can't say enough. But here's the thing. As I say all of that to tell you, I'm not 100% sold on Paul. Here's a couple of reasons why. The Jrue Holiday we're seeing right now is not the Jrue Holiday that we were seeing when they played them twice this year. If you remember, there was a stretch there where Holiday just looked very average. I mean, there was a lot of murmurs. He got booed a little bit. I mean, it was really bad there for a stretch. He was shooting the ball terribly, and he just wasn't himself. And then you saw that momentum building as they went into the playoffs, and then he stepped up. And then after Giannis went down, he stepped up again. So I just think he's primed for a great series. And I think he's a tough matchup for Chris Paul, again, because Paul's not going to be able to do what he does to those first 2 or 3 year players that think that they can stick with him, and they can't. But I think Holiday does. So again, you can't play everybody with the big salaries. We'd love to say, yeah, let's play, Middleton, Holiday, Booker, Ayton, and Paul, but it ain't going to happen. So something's got to give somewhere. And really right now for me, Andrew, the guy on the bubble is Paul for multiple reasons. I think because of that last game, he's going to be a little overowned because everybody's thinking the same thing. He's locked in. He's playing the best of his life. He's playing very well, but he's got a tougher defender. He is 36. He's going to need a little more rest in games. I think you're going to see him 32 minutes, 33 minutes, as opposed to the young pups like the Bookers that'll probably play 10 minutes more, 41, 42, 43. So that, weighs in for me as well. And I'm not saying by any stretch he's not a bad player, even as your captain. But if all the big dudes right now, he's the guy that I'm thinking might be the guy that is the last guy out.
Okay. Well, I think, the reason to fade him is because you want to pay up and get other strong plays out there.
Correct.
I don't think he's going to play 32 minutes, though. I'd be shocked if he plays less than 36.
He only played 34 in this last one,
Yeah.
and that was a closeout game.
Well, they didn't need him at the very end, but we'll see. Booker did play bigger minutes. You're right. I'm not saying he's going to play more minutes than Booker. I just think he's going to be ready to go for as much as he's, feeling strong. So let's transition to the other starters here: Booker, Bridges, and Crowder.
Okay.
Booker, he's the X factor for me because I do want Paul. Booker,
right.
In the regular season, he was strong against Milwaukee, but PJ Tucker did not start either of those games. We had Dante DiVincenzo starting both of those games. We know he's out. I think Tucker's going to start. I think Tucker's going to defend Booker. And, if they play man, when you've got Booker one-on-one against PJ Tucker, I don't think Tucker is going to completely wrap him up and make him shoot, 5 for 20 like Beverly did. I don't think it'll be quite that intense of defense. Nobody can match Pat Beverly, right?
Oh my gosh.
He was so quick and in his face. And he's quicker than
Not
Tucker.
literally in his face.
Yeah.
He busted his nose.
Exactly. But Tucker, also has great strength and a little more size. So it's a different look for Booker. So my initial look here is probably to fade Booker in my primary lineup because I do want to go with Paul. And then with Bridges and Crowder, Bridges is $1,500 cheaper on FanDuel, which is enough to get him in some lineups for me just because of the price discount. But, he's not my favorite play. He's been a little inconsistent lately. He hasn't been getting as many shots. So that area of the lineup, is really not my favorite. It's really a last guy in if you're going to look at Bridges or Crowder for me. What are your thoughts on the rest of the Phoenix starters?
Well, I think personally Booker's going to see some Middleton defense. So we have a little bit different takes there, but he'll probably get some PJ as well. I think Booker he's more of the silent assassin. If you saw all the rigmarole after they won it, there was just so much more celebrating. And I like to watch this kind of stuff. Paul was great. Great celebration, going nuts and eating and dancing and all that. Did you notice, though, Booker was reserved? He sort of stood in the background a little bit. They had to pull him up to the mic. His first comment was talking about that their mission isn't done yet. They want to go after this next one. He has that Kobe more than anybody other player. I think Kobe was really tight with him, and he has that Mamba mentality where he doesn't lose focus on the big prize. Because you asked Kobe in his heyday, and he said it right out. When they lost in the finals, he looked at that season as a complete failure. It doesn't count just to get there. Now, that's the other thing you got to look at here a little bit. Yeah, Paul wants to win one, but the monkey that's been on his back for 16 years, he never got to a final. And he took so much criticism. Best player in the history of the game, it's going to the Hall of Fame, never got into a final. Well, he's in a final. And you could see some of that relief in all of the interviews and after the game. And that's, again, what you get with us at Coach Talk here is a little bit different than you're going to get from other providers. We don't dump everything into an optimizer, crunch out the numbers, and play everybody at those percentages. We watch everything. We watch the interviews. We're watching after the game. I want to see body language. I want to see reactions. And this is one of those scenarios where this gets that unweighed analytics statistic, if you will. And I think Booker is mega focused. I think whether it's PJ, who's quicker than, or Middleton, who I think he can get some threes with step backs against. I think he's locked in. And I think Paul knows. I mean, he said right out the reason he came to Phoenix was because of Devin Booker. And I think they go to Booker. I see him getting up 25 to 30 shots. And, that Mamba mentality, carrying that out, just it pumps me up for it. And I think all of those factors come into play. And I don't think he'll be as highly owned as Chris Paul based on everything you stated, which is valid, and, the momentum of the way things are going. So I'm really feeling good about Devin.
Those are great comments and insights. I was looking at some of those same things. I love his mentality, his focus, the fact that he's not satisfied yet. Could Chris Paul be ultra satisfied here and celebrating that he's made it to the finals as the big monkey off his back? Possibly. And if I was going to roll the ball out on the wing and say I need somebody to make a three here, would I pick Chris Paul or Booker? I'd pick Booker. Guy is tremendous. But the other thing that I always circle back to with these guys in this playoff run is Booker's not going to get the ball most possessions down the floor unless Chris Paul decides to pass it to him. And Chris Paul's first look is, let me run the pick and roll with Ayton and see what happens. And they've had so much success with it that Booker has been the next option. He has not been the first option. And, it's not like Booker has some tremendous matchup where they want to just have that be their first look every time down the court. So that's the main reason I go back to Paul. It's not because I think he's a better scorer than Booker. It's just because he has the ball in his hands, and he's so fired up right now. His mentality is, go for broke here, go for the title. And he has ultimate confidence in himself that when he's running that pick and roll with Ayton, he's going to make good things happen. And so that's why I lean Paul here. But, again, Booker is cheaper on FanDuel by $1,500. He's only $200 cheaper on DraftKings. But, no matter what, it's going to be a lot of fun to see those two guys, going for that first title.
Yeah, I want to expand on one thought you said there because it is massively important here. Monty Williams is a terrific coach, and he identified right away, just as the Mavericks did and other teams that played the Clippers, that they can't defend the pick and roll. Zubats is too slow. When they put him in there, they go small, then they're too small to defend it. So there were teams that came in front of Phoenix that had no answer for that pick and roll. I think Milwaukee can do a much better job with it, with Lopez, Porter, and some of that rotation. Coach Bud's a good coach. He knows that was their bread and butter play. And I think that they're not going to completely take it away, but I think you'll see about 50% efficiency compared to the last couple of series where they were able to really attack that weakness. So in doing that, if that pick and roll is switched properly, if they go under it, if they double it, if they show it, then that is going to create a situation where he has to kick it. And, you mentioned, the rest of the starters. Bridges is not a bad play here either, because, if they take away some of that pick and roll, obviously Milwaukee's going to be favoring that Booker's probably going to get it. Bridges is going to probably be standing all by himself in the corner, nobody around him, and he's going to get open threes. The question is, can he knock them down? And if he does, he could be a fantastic value play here. I think he's going to get minutes because they need his defense. So he's a nice little wild card that could be a nice lineup rounder for you. But you're right. We'll know early on with that pick and roll and how they're defending it, how effective it's going to be. And if they take some of it away, what you end up giving up is you give up some open threes. And that's, Yahtzee for Booker and Bridges.
Yeah, good point. Nice analysis. All right, let me transition to the Phoenix bench, and I'll hit on four guys, and then let you follow up here on the group. Saric, not looking to play him. I'm looking at 10 minutes or so to back up Ayton. Campaign, tremendous as a starter, but too expensive for me here. FanDuel, he's $10,000, and he plays 16 minutes. I think he can be solid, but just doesn't make sense price-wise for me. He's a little bit more in consideration on DraftKings at $4,600. But I'd be more likely to go with Cam Johnson or Torrey Craig. And keep in mind that Cam Johnson missed that last game against the Clippers. So we saw Torrey
Yeah.
Craig get 31 minutes, and he can get extended run because of his awesome defense. But I think those minutes will drop back down to, 16, somewhere in there, and Cam Johnson will get his 16 to 20. He's more expensive on FanDuel. He's cheaper actually on DraftKings, so that's a place to look at. 2,800 is a nice price for a guy who can get shots up, and if he's hot, really put up a nice value on that price tag. So the guys that are going to miss out for me, I think Nader kind of goes back under the radar. He's gotten some minutes, and I do have to mention Frank Kaminsky, coach, because the funny thing is, in the first time these guys played, they started Kaminsky to defend Giannis, and he played 35 minutes. He went 14, 8, and 8. And, now he's kind of lost his way in the rotation. They've gone with Saric a lot more. So, Kaminsky not in play for me here, but it would be interesting to see if Giannis is going to start, if Kaminsky gets a few minutes on him. But for me, those guys are not in the picture tonight. It's Craig or Cam Johnson if you want to get a Phoenix guy off the bench.
All right, our guys behind the scene, take this snippet. Andrew Hansen, Captain Frank the Tank Kaminsky.
There it is.
I like that Frank got a mention, though. That's cool. It's interesting here. I'm a big campaign backer. I think he gets the most out of his minutes, and he is in play for me as the last guy in, and definitely on a GPP, because I still believe that if they're going to try to win this game, and it's a long series, I don't think they can extend Chris Paul more than 35 minutes a game. That's just my opinion. And Monty is so smart. He's not going to just blow him out, and it's 2-1, and he played 44 minutes a game, and he's gassed for the rest of the series. So I think that those minutes go 100% to campaign. So I think if he gets 20 minutes, the dude puts numbers up. I mean, he only played 15-41, like you said, in the last game, but he found a way to get up 9 shots and 7 assists. Mm-hmm. How do you do that in 15 minutes you're involved, and he has that kind of confidence. I don't expect anything massive from him, and I wish his price would have gone back down and been fairer. He's a little too expensive for my liking, but maybe it'll go down as the series goes. But he's the one guy off the bench that I have some interest in. You know me, I always try to sniff out the trap. I think Torrey Craig is the trap. I think, he did get 31 minutes and he did get 8 rebounds. I think that's an aberration. I think 15 minutes tops with Cam Johnson being back, and he still only got 3 shots up, 1 for 3 in that huge run. So big risk there. I think people will go to him because of this recency bias, but I think it's a mistake. And Saric isn't getting enough minutes. Nader, no. So really, the good thing here is Phoenix got 6 days rest, full 6 days rest. And Cam Johnson happens to be the guy that needed that the most because of his injury. And he's a contributor. He showed in stretches that he can really help. And so if he gets that 20 to 25 minutes, I think, that knocks some of the minutes away from the other guys, specifically Craig. And if he's hitting his shots, he's not, everybody thinks he's a rookie, doesn't have any experience. People don't know this, but he played 5 years of college basketball. He played 3 years at Pitt, and then he redshirted and played 2 years at North Carolina. So he's not a 21, 22-year-old rookie like some of these guys. He's in his mid-20s. He's seasoned, and I think he's a nice guy off the bench. I think he could be their key sub right along with Payne, and I think that might give Phoenix a little bit of an edge. So if I was going to go to the bench, that's where I'd go. And, I think there's a possibility there that he could get to value and at least fill in with that last guy in that doesn't hurt you.
Excellent. Well, hope that helped everybody get ready here for Game 1. If you'd like to join us, what we're going to do for our members is make 3 full lineups on FanDuel that you can plug and play, a full lineup on Yahoo, and then 2 cores on DraftKings, one for your cash build, one for your GPP build. So we're recording this here Monday at lunchtime. You got a day and a half to jump in with us. If you want to do that, go to dfscoachtalk.com, and then after you sign up, we'll send you an email, invite you into our Discord, and that's where we'll give out the lineups on Tuesday night. We also, like Coach said, have the baseball lineups, a bunch of slates tonight here on Monday and Tuesday, so whenever you want to jump in, no matter which membership you pick, you're going to get access to the baseball lineups and golf. Every membership we have is all access to all of our sports, no matter what it's called. It's just based on the length of time. So jump in, try that 3-day pass or the week pass to get going here with the finals. We'd love to have you. DFSCoachTalk.com. Any questions, you can find us on Twitter at DFSCoachTalk. You can find the coach at JoeSarvadi. You can find me at Language Olympic. And again, if you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and we'll keep providing these podcasts to non-members in front of the paywall every day we have NBA. Did I cover it, Coach?
You sure did. And tune in. That's why it's important to hit that alert button on these podcasts, because there are some days when there's a travel day that we'll do the podcast the day before the game, like we are now. And then there's some days where we're going to do them the morning of. So if you hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and that alert button, you'll know when those post. And we're going to go in depth here. We went longer today, but we wanted to cover everything. And it's going to be reevaluated for every game, because we have to get the update on Giannis' status, the minutes played, how those games turned out. And we have a little bit different builds when it's in Milwaukee, based on some other analysis that we've done. So, yeah, we'd love to have you join us. And if not, check us out on here. Follow us. Let us know what you think. Let us know when you win. You can shoot us a message right there on YouTube, or at DFS Coach Talk on Twitter.
There it is. All right. Fun stuff. Great to work with you, Coach, here, and get ready for this awesome Game 1.
You too.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody, and we'll be back again for Game 2 as we look to crush it in DFS.